our team, the team that we've been training and the team that we've been supporting. It is absolutely ludicrous to suggest that Russia could be a positive partner in this. They are on the run. They are making, every time we step back, they're on the run. The question that you asked was a really good one about what you would do. What three things would you do? I would restore the military. The sequester needs to be reversed. I would have a strategy to destroy ISIS. And I would immediately create a policy of containment as it relates to Iran's ambitions, and to make clear that we are not going to allow for Iran to do what it's doing, which is to move towards a nuclear weapon. Those three things would be the first and foremost things that we need to do in 2017.
Mr. Trump, Mr. Trump, you were mentioned here. You did say you could get along very well with Vladimir Putin. You did at one point say let Russia take care of ISIS.
Call me a genius. I like him so far, I have to tell you. Let me just tell you this. Jeb is so wrong. Jeb is absolutely so. That's just so you understand. You know what that is? That's Jeb's special interest and lobbyists talking. Look, let me just tell you something. Jeb is so wrong. You got to fight ISIS first. You fight ISIS first. Right now you have Russia, you have Iran, you have them with Assad, and you have them with Syria. You have to knock out ISIS. They're chopping off heads. These are animals. You have to knock them out. You have to knock them off strong. You decide what to do after. You can't fight two wars at one time. If you listen to him and you listen to some of the folks that I've been listening to, that's why we've been in the Middle East for 15 years and we haven't won anything. We've spent $5 trillion in the Middle East because of thinking like that. We've spent and Lindsey Graham, who backs him, who had 0 on his polls. So let me just tell you something. We've spent. I only tell the truth, lobbyists. We've spent $5 trillion all over the middle. We have to rebuild our country. We have to rebuild our infrastructure. You listen to that, you're going to be there for another 15 years.
All right, Governor Bush, please respond.
So the very basic fact is that Vladimir Putin is not going to be an ally of the United States. The whole world knows this. It's a simple, basic fact. They're not taking out, they're not even attempting to take out ISIS. They're attacking the troops that we're supporting. We need to create a coalition, Sunni-led coalition, on the ground with our special operators to destroy ISIS and bring about stability. And you can't do that with Assad in power.
We're supporting troops that we don't even know who they are.
Okay,
we're supporting troops that we don't even know who they are.
Trump. All right.
We have no idea who they are.
Gentlemen, I think we're gonna leave that there. I've got a question
for Senator. This is from a guy who gets his foreign policy from the shows.
Oh, yeah,
this is a guy who thinks that Hillary Clinton was a great negotiator in Iran. We're living in dangerous times.
In New Hampshire.
This is a man who insults his way to the nomination.
24 million.
All right, ladies. All right.
Give me a break.
Gentlemen, let's leave it there so I can. On Monday, George W. Bush will campaign in South Carolina for his brother. As you said tonight, and you've often said, the Iraq War and your opposition to it was a sign of your good judgment. In 2008, in an interview with Wolf Blitzer talking about President George W. Bush's conduct of the war, you said you were surprised that Democratic leader Nancy Pelosi didn't try to impeach him. You said, quote, which personally I think would have been a wonderful thing, close quote. When you were asked what you meant by that, you said, for the war. For the war. He lied. He got us into the war with lies. Do you still believe President Bush should have been impeached?
First of all, I have to say, as a businessman, I get along with everybody. I have business all over the world. I know so many of the people in the audience. And by the way, I'm a self-funder. I have my wife and I have my son. That's all I have. I don't have this. So let me just tell you, I get along with everybody, which is my obligation to my company, to myself, etc. Obviously, the war in Iraq was a big, fat mistake, all right? Now, you can take it any way you want, and it took Jeb Bush, if you remember at the beginning of his announcement, when he announced for president, took him 5 days. He went back. It was a mistake. It wasn't a mistake. Took him 5 days before his people told him what to say. And he ultimately said it was a mistake. The war in Iraq, we spent $2 trillion, thousands of lives. We don't even have it. Iran is taking over Iraq with the second largest oil reserves in the world. Obviously, it was a mistake.
So
George Bush made a mistake. We can make mistakes, but that one was a beauty. We should have never been in Iraq. We have destabilized the Middle East.
But so you still think he should be
I think
impeached?
it's my turn, isn't it?
You do whatever you want. You call it whatever you want. I want to tell you, they lied.
Okay.
They said there were weapons of mass destruction. There were none, and they knew there were none. There were no weapons of mass
Okay,
destruction.
all right. Governor Bush, when a member on the stage's brother gets attacked, the
I got
brother
about
gets to
5 or
respond.
6. Do I get to do it 5 or 6 times or just
I'm being
once
nice.
responding to that? So here's the deal. I'm sick and tired of Barack Obama blaming my brother for all of the problems that he's had. And frankly, I could care less about the insults that Donald Trump gives to me. It's blood sport for him. He enjoys it, and I'm glad he's happy about it. But I am
$22
sick and
million
tired.
in
I am
ads.
sick and tired of him going after my family. My dad is the greatest man alive in my mind. And while Donald Trump was building a reality TV show, my brother was building a security apparatus to keep us safe, and I'm proud of what he did. And he's had the gall to go after
The World
my
Trade
mother.
Center came
He's
down
had the
during
gall
your
to
brother's
go after
reign.
my
Remember
mother.
that.
Hold on.
Let me finish this. He's had the gall to go after my mother.
That's not keeping
Look, I
us
won
safe.
the lottery when I was born 63 years ago and looked up and I saw my mom. My mom is the strongest woman I know.
She should
this
be
is
running.
not about my family or his family.
Okay.
This is about the South Carolina families that need someone to be a commander-in-chief that can lead. And I'm that person.
Governor Kasich, would you?
Saddam Hussein was in violation of UN resolutions, an open violation, and the world wouldn't do anything about it. And George W. Bush enforced what the international community refused to do. And again, he kept us safe, and I am forever grateful to what he did for this country.
How did he keep us safe when the World Trade Center came down? The World, excuse me, I lost hundreds of friends. The World Trade Center came down during the reign of George Bush. He kept us safe. That's not safe. That is not safe, Marco.
All right.
That is not safe.
The World Trade Center came down because Bill Clinton didn't kill Osama bin Laden when he had the chance to kill him.
And George Bush had, by the way, George Bush had the chance also, and he didn't listen to the advice of his CIA.
All right, Dr. Carson, we have a We have a cleansing-
I'm not going to invite Donald Trump to the rally in Charleston on Monday afternoon.
I don't
when my
wanna
brother's
go.
coming to speak.
yeah.
I'm rescinding the invitation. I thought you might want to come, but I guess not. That doesn't mean it's right. We should pick who comes to our country. We should control our border. Coming here legally should be a lot easier than coming here illegally. But the motivation, they're not all rapists, as you know who said. They're not that. These are people that are coming to provide for their families. And we should show a little more respect for the fact that they're struggling. It doesn't mean we shouldn't be controlling the border. That's exactly what we should be doing.
Mr. Trump,
Look, when I announced that I was running for president on June 16th, illegal immigration wasn't even a subject. If I didn't bring it up, you wouldn't even be talking. Now, I don't often agree with Marco, and I don't often agree with Ted, but I can in this case. The weakest person on the stage by far on illegal immigration is Jeb Bush. They come out of an act of love, whether you like it or not. He is so weak on illegal immigration, it's laughable, and everybody knows it.
So, you know, this is the standard operating procedure to disparage me. That's fine. I don't really
Spend
care
a little
about it.
more money on the
So I can handle it.
commercials.
But if you want to talk about weakness, it's weak to disparage women. It's
don't
weak to disparage Hispanics.
I don't disparage.
It's weak to denigrate the disabled. And it's really weak to call John McCain a loser because he was a POW.
I never called him. No, I don't call
That
him
is
a-
outrageous. He's an American hero.
He also
The simple
said
fact
about
is,
language.
I've laid out my plans
He said
as it
about
relates to
language. My
immigration.
language. 2 days ago, he said he would take his pants off and moon everybody, and that's fine. Nobody reports that. He gets up and says that, and then he tells me, "Oh, my language was a little bit rough."
Okay.
My language.
Governor Kasich,
Give me a break.
Governor Kasich.
Eminent domain is something that you need very strongly. When Jeb had said you used eminent domain privately for a parking lot, it wasn't for a parking lot. The state of New Jersey, too bad Chris Christie's not here, he could tell you, the state of New Jersey wanted to build a very large tower that was going to employ thousands of people. I mean, it was going to really do a big job in terms of economic development. Now, just so you understand, I got hit very hard. It's private. It's private eminent domain. You understand that they took over a stadium in Texas and they used private eminent domain, but he just found that out after he made the charge.
All right. Governor Bush, I think by they, he's referring to your brother.
Yeah.
You're on the hook for your brother.
Well, Jeb wouldn't have known about it.
So there's all sorts of intrigue about where I disagree with my brother. There'd be one right there. You should not use eminent domain for private purposes. A baseball stadium or a parking lot for limos.
You shouldn't have used it then, Jeb.
It's
But that
very
was his
different.
brother.
Transmission lines, pipelines, bridges, highways, all of that is proper use of eminent domain. Not to take an elderly woman's home to build a parking lot so that high rollers can come from New York City to failed casinos in Atlantic City. That is not the appropriate
Senator,
thing
hold
to do.
on. Senator Cruz, you were mentioned in the mix here. I understand
Say something.
you're on deck, Governor.
He
You're
also
on
denigrated one of my heroes, Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan was a liberal maybe in the 1950s. He was a conservative reform governor for 8 years before he became president, and no one would suggest he made an evolution for political purposes. He was a conservative, and he didn't tear down people like Donald Trump did. He tore down the Berlin Wall.
Okay, Governor.
And he's a great guy.
Governor.
Let me just say, look, I am very open. I hired top people. I've had great success. I built a great, great company. I don't need to do this. I'm self-funding. I'm spending a lot of money. I've spent, like in New Hampshire, I spent $3 million. Jeb Bush spent $44 million. He came in 5, and I came in number 1. That's what the country needs, folks. I spent 3. He spends 42 of their money, of special interest money. And it's just, this is not going to make, this is not going to make our country great again. This is not what we need in our country. We need people that know what the hell they're doing. And politicians, they're all talk, they're no action, and that's why people are supporting me. I do listen to people. I hire experts. I hire top people, and I do listen. And you know what? Sometimes they're wrong. You have to know what to do, when to do it. But sometimes they're wrong.
Something in talking to voters that they wish somebody would tell you to cut it out is the profanity. What's your reaction?
Well, I'll tell you. Over the years, I've made many speeches. People have asked me, big companies have asked me to make speeches, and friends of mine that run big companies on success. And on occasion, in order to sort of really highlight something, I use a profanity. One of the profanities that I got credited with using that I didn't use was a very bad word 2 weeks ago that I never used. I said, you. And everybody said, oh, he didn't say anything wrong. But you bleeped it. So everyone thinks I said the word. I didn't say anything. I never said the word. It is very unfair, that criticism. Now, I will say this. With all of that being said, I have said I will not do it at all. Because if I say a word that's a little bit off color, a little bit, it ends up being a headline. I will not do it again. I was a very good student at a great school. Not using, by the way, not using profanity is very easy.
Right. Okay, Governor Bush, I'd like to ask
I got to respond to this.
Well, can
I think that the dysfunction in Washington is really dangerous. That's what I think. And we need a proven leader that has a record of solving problems. Someone who doesn't cut and run. Someone who could be a commander-in-chief to unite our country around common purposes. Someone who doesn't disparage people. Someone that doesn't brag, for example, that he's been bankrupt 4 times and it was great because he could use the legal system.
Let me respond. That's another lie. I never went bankrupt.
Hold on, Mr. Trump.
It's another lie.
But hold on.
No, but it's a lie. This guy, he doesn't know what
campaign.
he's talking about.
We need someone with a
This is a
proven
lie.
record to be able to forge consensus to solve problems. And right now, both Republicans and Democrats in Washington don't get it. People are struggling. 63% of Americans can't make a $500 car payment. Most Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. And we need someone who has a proven record of growing the economy, reforming the things that are broken, and I'm that person.
Okay, Mr. Trump, your response.
Let me just tell you. Jeb goes around and says, just like the biggest business leaders in this country, I've used the laws of the land to I bought a company, I threw it immediately into a chapter, I made a great deal. I used the laws to my benefit because I run a company. I never went bankrupt. Excuse me, Jeb.
Yeah.
I never went bankrupt. Never. Now, but you don't want to say that. Now, let me just say, I've used it just like the biggest leaders in the country. Let me just tell you something. Florida. He put so much debt on Florida. You know, we keep saying he's a wonderful governor, wonderful governor. He put so much debt on Florida, and he increased spending so much that as soon as he got out of office, Florida crashed. I happened to be there. It's my second home. Florida crashed.
Okay.
He didn't
Here we
do a
go.
good job as
Okay.
governor. And you haven't, excuse me, you haven't heard that. You listened to the good record in Florida. You take a look at what happened. As soon as that year ended, he got out. Florida crashed. Too much debt. He loaded it up with debt, and his spending went through the roof.
Mr. Trump, please,
This was
the
not-
bells are-
by the way,
the bells are ringing,
this was
sir.
not a good governor.
Here's the record. Here's the record. We led the nation in job growth 7 out of 8 years. When I left, there was $9 billion of reserves, 35% of general revenue. No state came
Take a look
close
at
to
your
that.
numbers.
During my time, we were one of 2 states to go to AAA bond rating. We didn't go bankrupt like Trump did and call it success when people are laid off, when vendors don't get paid. That's not success. What we did was create an environment where people had a chance to have income. Personal income during my time went up by 4.4%.
Florida went
The
down
government,
the tubes right
the
after he
government
got out of
grew-
office. Went
the
right
government
down
grew by
because
half
of
of
what
that.
he did to
All right. Thank you.